Hello children, welcome to biology class. We are starting chapter 1, reproduction in organisms today. From the unit reproduction, we are having 4 chapters: reproduction in organism, then sexual reproduction, flowering plants, then human reproduction and reproductive health. Children, these 4 lessons, these 4 chapters are very important, okay? So, in this lesson, reproduction organism, only 2 topics are the subtopics, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Okay, so let's start the lesson, children. Reproduction in organism. Children, as we all know, each and every organism can live only for a certain period of time. The period from birth to the natural death of an organism represents its lifespan, isn't it? So in your textbook, a figure is given on page number 4, figure 1.1. You just take your textbook and just look at the picture. So a lot of plants and animals are given there. Okay. So can you find their lifespan? Or by using this diagram, you just fill that page. Okay, children. So it is very interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting to note. It may be as short as a few days or as long as a few thousand years. Between these two extremes are the lifespan of most other living organisms, isn't it? You may note that lifespans of organisms not necessarily correlated with their size. For example, the sizes of crows and parrots are not very different, yet their lifespan show a wide difference, isn't it? Similarly, a mango tree has a much shorter lifespan as compared to peepal tree, isn't it? So, whatever be the lifespan, death of every individual organism is eternity. But in your textbook, you can note a sentence. No individual is immortal except single cell organisms. No individual is immortal except a single celled organism. Children, let me ask a question to you. Why do we say there is no natural death in single cell organism? So this question is asked for examination. Okay, can you find the answer? Yes, there is no natural death in single cell organism like amoeba and bacteria because the common mode of reproduction in those organisms is asexual. The parent body gives rise to daughter cells that live individually and divides further. That means the next generation arises from a single parent. That's why it is said to be that there is no natural death in single cell organism. Okay, I will show you some of the examples. Before that, let's discuss about reproduction. So then only we can explain what is a sexual and what's the difference between a sexual and sexual reproduction. So before, let's define reproduction. We know that is defined as a biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones similar to itself. Then what happened? The offspring. Offspring means the young ones. Offspring grow, mature and in turn produce new offspring. Thus, there is a cycle of birth, growth and death. That means this reproduction enables the continuity of the species generation after generation. You know that there is a large diversity in the biological world, isn't it? See, here the paramecium cell divides and produce new organisms. So in lower classes, you might studied about reproduction in lower organisms, isn't it? So in our world, each organism has evolved its own mechanism to multiply and produce offspring. So the organism's habitat, its internal physiology and several other factors are collectively responsible for its reproduction, isn't it? So based on whether there is a participation of one organism or two in the process of reproduction, it is of 2 types. What are the 2 types? Yes, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So first of all, let's discuss about asexual reproduction. What is that? When offspring is produced by a single parent with or without the involvement of gamete formation. That is asexual reproduction. Whereas in sexual reproduction, 2 parents of opposite sex participate in the reproductive process and also involve fusion of male and female gametes. Okay, that is sexual reproduction. So now let's discuss in detail about asexual reproduction. The same figure is given in your textbook, isn't it? What is this? It's budding in yeast, isn't it? Budding in yeast. So in this method, here in asexual reproduction, a single individual is capable of producing offspring. So I will show you one video. So it's very clear that a bud's formed here. Can you see it's from this bud and new organisms are formed. Okay, so here the offsprings that are produced are not only identical to one another, but they are also exact copies of their parent. Okay, so the term clone, C-L-O-N-E, clone is used to describe such morphologically and genetically similar individuals. So by sexual reproduction produce offsprings that are genetically identical to parent. Okay, and one more diagram is there in your textbook, isn't it? What is this? Binary fission in amoeba. So you can label in your textbook. It is an unlabeled diagram, isn't it? So you can label it. This is plasma membrane. This is nucleus. Here, what happens to nucleus? It gets elongated and dumbbell-shaped nucleus. In next stage, daughter nucleus are formed in 2 cells and is separated, and daughter amoeba is formed. Clear? So this is binary fission in amoeba. So in protist and monerans, organisms or the parent cell divide into 2, give rise to no individuals. Thus, in this organism, cell division is itself a mode of reproduction. Okay, so that's why they are said to be immortal. So I think now you got the answer, isn't it? Many single cell organisms reproduce by binary fission, where a cell divides into 2 halves and each rapidly grows into adult. That is in amoeba and paramecium. In yeast, the cell division is unequal and small buds are produced. Okay, then 4 more diagrams are given in your textbook, isn't it? The first diagram is of Chlamydomonas. So this is zoospores. Zoospores are released from Chlamydomonas. And second one, this is Penicillium. The name of this organism is Penicillium and it produces conidia. Okay, conidia. Then here you can see buds in Hydra, and here you can see gemmules in sponge. This is gemmules and sponge. Okay, so members of kingdom fungi and simple plants such as algae reproduce through special asexual reproductive structures. And which are the most common one? Zoospores. Okay, and another common thing is conidia, buds and gemmules. So you can expect questions from this diagram. They will give you this diagram and they will ask to write the sexual reproductive part of Hydra or Chlamydomonas or sponge, like that. Okay, so study these diagrams carefully. Then children, while in animals and other simple organisms, there is a term we use the term asexual, isn't it? Used, but in plants we use the term vegetative reproduction, or the thing or a part which is produce new plant, we will call it as vegetative propagal. Clear? So the term vegetative reproduction we will use to explain asexual reproduction in plants, and the unit vegetative propagation such as runner, rhizome, sucker, tuber, offset, bulb. Okay, these parts are capable of giving rise to offspring, and these parts are known as vegetative propagal. So you analyze this picture, children. What is this? Okay, this is a potato. Okay, so you can see eyes. These are known as eyes of potato, and here germinating eye buds you can see here. Okay, so this eyes of potato is the vegetative propagal. Clear? And you observe this, children. What is this? Yes, this is ginger. Here you can see rhizome. This is rhizomes. Okay, so these rhizomes are the vegetative propagal of ginger. Clear? And the third diagram, this is a agave. Here you can see bulbil, and here this is bryophyllum. Okay, this is bryophyllum. You can see adventitious buds. So leaf buds are the vegetative propagal of bryophyllum. And what is this? This is water hyacinth. So here this offset is the vegetative propagal. Clear? So I will show you what is this. This is water hyacinth flower. This water hyacinth is called as terror of Bengal. You know why, children? There is nothing but an aquatic plant, water hyacinth, which is one of the most invasive weed found growing wherever there is standing water. Okay, so I think this diagram is familiar to you, isn't it? Near nearby water bodies, you might see water hyacinth. It drains oxygen from water, which leads to death of fishes. Okay. Then, while you can expect more questions from questions based on this diagram. Okay, so you have to study this diagram very carefully. Okay, so you have to discuss, you have to study more about this diagram. So when the nodes come in contact with damp soil or water, they produce roots in potato. So the eyes of potato is the vegetative propagules there. Then adventitious buds arises from the notches of the leaves bryophyllum. So this adventitious buds are the vegetative propagule of bryophyllum. And the case of agave, this bulbil is the vegetative propagule. And the case of water hyacinth, this offset. And here ginger, these rhizomes are the vegetative propagule. Clear, children? So that's about asexual reproduction, and next class we will discuss about sexual reproduction and 3 important phases of sexual reproduction. So from this part, that means from a sexual reproduction, you can expect diagram based questions from the budding and the budding in yeast and binary fission in amoeba, then the asexual reproductive structures of animals and vegetative propagules of angiosperms. Okay, these 4 questions are very important. Okay, so read the textbook thoroughly, children, and answer the test questions. So next class, let's discuss about sexual reproduction. Thank you.